Travis, is there any information in the Scientology library of writings, lectures, etc., that has not been leaked by ex-members yet? What type of information might be contained in such unleaked information? Hey, thanks for the question, Travis, and I've actually made a little list here because there's actually a lot of stuff. As much as you guys have available to you on the internet, and it's a lot because I've downloaded everything that's available out there that I could get my grubby little fingers on over the last 6 years. And I've got a very extensive online library of Scientology materials, but there are huge holes in what I know exists versus what I've got my hands on. And I'll go down a couple things on this list to let you guys know what you're missing out on out there. First off, there are all of the, the entire library of the Office of Special Affairs directives and issues and guidelines and orders and programs. There's a ton of stuff that the Office of Special Affairs has in writing or stored somewhere away. And there's a ton of issues and advices and directions and things that Hubbard wrote for them or that other people wrote in his name, which still exist, right? All these old Guardian's office stuff that got converted over to OSA stuff, and we don't, there's a ton of stuff there. So there's all the ways that OSA operates, right? There's stuff missing there. Superpower. We've had discussions about superpower. Dan Kuhn, who was on the development team and was working on putting all that together for many years, has leaked about what Hubbard said about superpower, what the rundowns are, what they likely consist of, but his knowledge of it is only from when he was in the church working on it, and we have not had leaks of the actual superpower materials as they are being delivered right now in Clearwater, Florida. So that would be cool to get some of that. There's also the L rundowns. These are special, super high-level rundowns that are done at various points on the bridge. You can do them, and they're supposed to sort of supercharge a Thetan. And there's L10, L11, and L12. L stands for list. So it was list 10, list 11, and list 12. These were things Hubbard developed in the early 1970s on the ship in order to help out executives from Scientology organizations who were there doing training, and Sea Org executives, and it was supposed to supercharge them and kind of reach in and take this deep level of core junk, inside you as a spiritual entity and just rip it out, right? And that's what that was all about. So the L's that we have or that we know about have been written down from memory of people who delivered them. So it's probably, not horribly bad, but it's not the current L's that are being delivered right now. We don't know what those actually are. At least I haven't seen it anywhere. So if anybody's got those, definitely let me know. Then there is the Truth Rundown. Now, I did a whole video about this and described what the Truth Rundown is. This is what Leah Remini received when she went to Flag and was getting security checking or auditing when she was talking about Where's Shelley, right? This is how they were handling her, was the Truth Rundown. And it is probably the single most destructive and invasive and mind thought-reforming action that the Church of Scientology has, at least that I know of, out of all the auditing, all the training, all the mechanisms that Scientology has, and they are legion. The Truth Rundown is in my estimation, the single most psychologically damaging to somebody, because it might as well be called the gaslighting rundown, because that's the end result of it, is you've completely gaslighted yourself in a way, because you have to recall times. You didn't do it to yourself. The auditor in L. Ron Hubbard actually did it. But what you do is, there's a whole video on this, but basically the bottom line is you get to deal with instances of you forwarding black PR or enemy lines about Scientology, right? Like, Scientology staff don't get paid or something. That's an enemy line. It's true, but in the world of Scientology, in the bubble world, it's not true, and it can't be used, and it can't be accepted, and you can't think with it. So you got to get in there and rip it out, and you do it with the Truth Rundown. And this involves you looking back in your past for times that you had all these evil intentions, and you handle all that connected with this kind of bad PR that you're forwarding or spreading around. And then you have to realize that you were deluded. It was all you. You were the one who was deluded in thinking that staff in Scientology orgs don't get paid. because they, a policy says that they do and they will and they should. And so, all the policy is good and L. Ron Hubbard is good and everything is wonderful. And if staff aren't being paid, it's their fault. It's not because of Scientology or L. Ron Hubbard or his policies. And, you realize at the end of the Truth Rundown that you were the one who was deluded about it. It's literally 1984, right? At the end of 1984. It's that kind of a end result. It's very bad. Rollback issues. This has to do with ethics interviews. This has to do with finding the source of where some of these enemy lines come from. I believe I've also done a video describing rollback and what that's all about. Then there's Power Plus, these rundowns. This is done right after a person finishes if a person doesn't go clear following the usual steps, right? You do okay, I'm clear. Well, if that doesn't happen, then you get what's called the alternate route to clear. And the first thing on that is Power and Power Plus. And these are just special Scientology rundowns. And all the information on that is outdated. They've revised it. They've re-put that stuff out there. And I have no idea what it says. So we don't know what they're doing right now under the name of Power and Power Plus. The latest OT levels. A lot of the OT levels have been revised or changed in some ways, probably insignificant ways overall, compared to what we have on the internet. But the stuff that's on the net is, a couple decades old. The differences would have to do more with changes in practice or procedure, stuff like that. Then there's OT8, of course. There have been 3 versions of OT8. These are all on the net because people have recalled what they ran or what was done, and they've talked about it, sort of memoir style. But I don't think we've had a leak of the actual issues, except for that one about Hubbard and Lucifer. We got that one. But I haven't seen the other things in formal bulletin format, according to how Scientology would format that stuff. So I'd like to see that. There are a ton of Hubbard issues on management and the Sea Org and Sea Org management. These are called flag orders. There's also Central Bureau orders. There are also International Management Executive Committee executive directives and L. Ron Hubbard executive directives. And those are on the net, I think, but not all of them. There's just stacks and stacks of different kinds of issues that Hubbard wrote that are all internal directives and guidelines and policies. And we have the what are called the green volumes and the red volumes, and that's where the bulk of the policy and the tech is for Scientology, but it's not all of it by any stretch of the imagination. There's just stacks and stacks of stuff that's never come out of the church. But it's, again, kind of minutia type of stuff. It's very super specific stuff, like only for specific organizations. Like there's a whole pack of issues for making films and doing audiovisual editing and compilations and all of that. All the stuff that's done at the Golden Era Productions up in San Jacinto, right? All that kind of technical specialized work has issues from L. Ron Hubbard on how to do it. So, and there's issues on art and stuff, and there's all kinds of stuff. So that stuff has not ever leaked out of the church particularly. And this also includes, by the way, old org evals. Like Hubbard personally was doing evaluations of Scientology organizations, telling them what to do. None of that stuff is leaked out. I've read tons of those things when I was in the church. It's all on disc, but never come out. Then there is Excalibur. Okay, that's the book that Hubbard wrote in 1938, he said, and a lot of Scientology is based on it. And that is hidden away up in the archives of San Jacinto or at the Church of Spiritual Technology, wherever it's located. I don't know physically, specifically, exactly where. But there are a few copies of that book, Excalibur, up there. And I have talked to 2 people who told me that they have seen it, have held it in their hands, have read it. Couldn't really, one of them wouldn't really, I'm not really in touch with now, and the other one didn't really have a lot of details for me about it. So, I don't really know anything more than what I've already said about Excalibur, but it's something that's never leaked in full out of the church, and that would be a doozy to get our hands on. And then who knows what else is in Hubbard's archives. So that's the little list I made. A lot of stuff. So, maybe at some point, hopefully at the end of all of this stuff will come out. But I'm not holding my breath.